Yes, we are doing things a little bit different today, tonight. I am ready for bed, but I wanted to come in here and answer some questions, answer and respond to some of my new subscribers. So if you are new, welcome, welcome. Um, just give me a minute to pull up these questions. If you are watching the replay, please know that you can comment on any of what we discuss here tonight, um, or ask any new questions if I don't cover anything that you actually were looking for. But if you're here, more than likely we're going to discuss something that you're interested in. Um, So let me just get a minute to pull up these questions and give you guys a minute to come on in. Mm, where are my list of questions? Okay, here we are. How do I go back? Okay, so found my questions. So tonight I'm going to answer a few questions. Stick around so you can see if any of these questions can apply to you. If you're new here, welcome. I can't assume that everyone that comes on knows who I am fully, but if you found my page, you're probably familiar with what I do. Either way, my name is Nailah Abdullah. I am a toxic relationship coach with a career background in mental health therapy. And I work with women, helping them to navigate the aftermath of toxic or narcissistic relationships, helping them to move on, to heal from the heavy impact of these types of relationships. So, what the first question I'm going to answer today, or more so comment that I'm going to respond to, is a lady who shared. She said, "I feel so frustrated with myself. I tried to call, but he ignored, and I wish I never broke my no contact, feeling disappointed in myself." So, first of all, I want to tell you to give yourself grace. It is not uncommon. Welcome, welcome. If you're coming in, just say hello. Shoot me your name and where you are. We're just doing some Q&A right now. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. So give yourself grace for feeling, for going back on your no contact. These relationships, and this is why I do what I do, these are not normal breakups. It is hard a lot of times to detach yourself from the person. Everyone has different reasons why it's hard. For some, it's harder than others. But I do want you to know that it's possible. Okay, but give yourself grace for going back. Don't feel like, oh, I'm just going to give up. This is it. I have to just, I made a mistake. It's kind of like, you went on a diet, you ate that cheeseburger. It doesn't mean that you can't go back on the diet, right? You get back on the wagon. So it is the same thing with this, but give yourself grace. Do not beat up on yourself. When you're coming out of these types of relationships, you are it's like coming out of war, right? You are very fragile. So beating up on yourself is only going to make it worse. Okay. You don't deserve that. Yes. Should you have kept the contact? Yes, but you didn't. We can't go back in the past and change it. So give yourself grace, forgive yourself, and figure out not. And so I'm not just going to say go back no contact again. And for those of you who don't know what no contact means, that is cutting off all contact with the toxic or narcissistic ex, right? So I'm not just going to say, okay, well, you made a mistake, you contacted him, so now go no contact again. But I like to go a little deeper, right? Because it's not just about me telling you what to do, but I want to empower you to go ahead and figure out what made me break that no contact, right? Welcome, Kiki. Welcome. Come on in, guys. Let me know where you're from. Say hello. We're doing some Q&A here. and I'm in my pajamas, so I'm not showing myself right now, but you can see this beautiful candle. So right, I want you to figure out like what made me break no contact. Go into where were you when that happened? You know, what were your thoughts when that happened? Who was around you when that happened? How did your day go when that happened? Because when you assess that, then you're able to see, okay, where do I need to strengthen those areas of weakness? Right? It's not just about doing it. If it was that easy, everyone would do it and no one would have a problem with it, right? We have to figure out what are our weaknesses. That is part of the healing journey. That is what I work on with my clients. What are the weak gaps? Where do we need to shift the mindset? Where do we need to shift the thoughts to prevent you from breaking that no contact again? Right. And in this comment that I'm reading, where she said, and I'll reread it again because I see some of you are popping in. I'm answering a comment that said, I'm so frustrated with myself. I tried to call, but he ignored, and I wish I never broke my no contact, feeling disappointed in myself. So I'm just responding to that comment. Right. And him ignoring you is part of playing the games as well. So please know, one, give yourself grace. Two, forgive yourself. Three, figure out where was I physically, where was I mentally when I made that phone call to him, right? And what do I need to shift? What do I need to change? Do I need to change my environment? Do I need to change the people that I'm talking to? Do I need to change the conversations that I'm having, right? What do I need to change? Do I need to change my thoughts? What was I thinking? I'm so lonely. I'm so bored. Do I need to find something else to fill up those bored, those gaps where I do feel bored? Whatever it is, look at that, assess the situation so you know where you need to fill in those gaps. And the fact that he ignored you, that is a part of their mind games. That's a part of it. Don't fall for it. Whether he picked up the phone or not, that's irrelevant. Go back to you. Okay, go back to you, strengthening yourself, strengthening those weak moments, so you do not fall to your temptations again to reach back out. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Catherine, welcome from Kentucky. I have never been there. I am currently in St. Martin, but I am from New Jersey. But welcome, welcome. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm just responding to some questions here tonight, and I may do this quite regularly because I I'm unsettled when I know people have questions that they really would like some answers to. Um, so there's a lot here for me to answer, but I'm going to answer as much as I can for the next few minutes here. But if any questions come up for you, um, go ahead and put them in the comments. Let me see what other question I have here. Okay, so another question I have here is, why do people say that you are the narcissist once you expose someone for being one? So I can't tell you exactly why people would say that, but what I will say is be careful who you're talking to, right? Because people who are supportive of you would never call you that. Now, when you say people, I'm not sure who you're referring to. But if you're referring to random people, then those are the wrong people you're around. So you need to find a new circle. You need to find a new group of people. And when you say people, if you're referring to the toxic and narcissistic uh, partner or ex that called you a narcissist, then that's just manipulation. That's mind games. They're trying to confuse you. They're trying to gaslight you. You have clearly studied some information about narcissism. You see those traits in that person, you're confronting them with it, and now they're flipping the script on you and trying to confuse you to make you think that you are the problem. It's pure manipulation. And this is why a lot of times when people say, I want to confront them, should I confront them, should I tell them, there you can, but it's not going to change them. The only thing it'll do is give you temporary satisfaction to get it off your chest. But the downside, the what do you call it, where it will backfire, is that now they're going to use that as an opportunity to flip the script on you and make you think that you're the problem. And this is why they would say, no, you're the narcissist. So confronting them with the information you have found about them um, is pointless, because it's not going to change anything, and it can backfire. So I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. Is this pre-recorded? No, this is not pre-recorded, but if you're asking because you want to catch the recording later, TD Temple, I will leave this live up. But this is alive. I am right here looking at you. But I will leave this up. So if you have to go, hi, Kiana. Kina, sorry. Kina, welcome, welcome. I am just doing some Q&A here. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. But yes, I will leave. If you have to leave for whatever reason, I will leave this up. YouTube does take a while to upload live. So once I get off of here, it may not be available right away, but by tomorrow, within the next 12 hours, it should be available. All right. The next question I'm answering here is, do you become narcissistic while living with a narcissistic man? Kenna. Okay. My apologies. Kenna. Yeah. So do you become narcissistic while living with a narcissistic man? So the answer is no. You cannot just turn into a narcissist because you were living with someone who has narcissistic traits or actually has the personality disorder. And I always like to put that disclaimer that when we call people narcissists, right, we're basically saying we see the traits in them, because most people don't actually get diagnosed by a mental health professional with this diagnosis, right? Because this is an actual diagnosis, a mental disorder diagnosis. So the answer to that question, do you become narcissistic while living with a narcissistic man? The answer is no. However, what can happen, what I've seen happen, is that when you are living with someone with these traits, part of your coping mechanism, right? So the way that you get through the day, get through your life with them, is that you start to mimic some of their behavior. And sometimes you do that because you feel like, well, this is the way that I'm going to stand up for myself, right? This is the way I'm going to make sure that they don't run over me, right? And you do start to pick up certain behaviors really in response to the way that they're treating you, right? For those of you who don't know, besides being a mental health professional, besides being a toxic relationship coach, I was also in a narcissistic relationship for 10 years. And 2 of those years were marriage. And when I got out of the relationship and started my new relationship with my current husband, I realized that when I would get into a conflict, I caught myself, I think maybe twice, like smirking. And the smirking wasn't because I was happy that we were arguing, but it was my defense mechanism to show, like, I'm not upset. You're not hurting me. And I realized I had to change that, because when you're in a relationship with someone who is toxic and narcissistic, you have been emotionally neglected for so long. What does that mean? They're not taking into consideration that they're hurting you, right? So you start to develop this hard shell, this hard exterior, where you start to show them, you can't hurt me. I don't care that you don't care that I'm crying. I don't care that you don't care that I'm hurting, right? You can't break me. You can't hurt me, right? So now when you go into a new relationship and you get into a conflict, you automatically flip that switch on, because that's what you've been used to for so long. So these are some of the traits that responses rather. So you know you don't become narcissistic, but your responses mimic sometimes their behavior, because that was how you survived. And that is why, for those of you listening to this that are still in a toxic and narcissistic relationship, this is one of the reasons that it's imperative that you get out sooner than later, because the longer you stay there, the more unraveling, what's the word? Unraveling, unfolding that you need to do when you get out. There's more repair that you have to do after you get out, right? Because the longer you stay there, the more you develop characteristics within yourself that's really not you, but you've developed it to survive. It's just like going to war, right? When people join the military, if they go off to war, they're coming back a very different person than when they first went, right? If you go to war, you have to develop certain mindsets and behaviors and whatnot in order to survive in that treacherous conditions of war, right? And when you come back home, it's not a switch you can automatic. No problem, Kenna. No problem. I'll put up the replay for you. um just because you come back home doesn't mean that you let go of all of those coping mechanisms and way of being and way of thinking that worked for you while you were in war, that no longer will work for you when you come back home to civilization, right? So that is the same thing with being in these toxic and narcissistic relationships. You develop certain behaviors, it's certain responses to things in order to survive, but it's actually unhealthy. So the sooner you can get out, the better. All right. I'm going to answer one more question. And then I'm going to head out. If you don't already know, those of you, I come on live every morning, Monday to Friday, at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, in addition to my regular uploads. So if you want to catch me live again, I may be doing more of these Q&As here at night, but I definitely also come on every morning, Monday to Friday as well, with a message. And then, of course, if you have any questions there. Let me look for one more question from my list. Let me see. Okay, last question here, but a good one, because this is something that comes up a lot. The question is, can a narcissist be a good friend? So before I answer that question, as I said, I'm not the type of coach that, and when I worked in the mental health field as well, when I provided therapy and counseling, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to teach you how to think and how to shift your perspective so you can answer your own question. So before I answer this question for you, can a narcissist be a good friend? I want you to ask yourself, after what you experienced in your relationship with this individual that you now call a narcissist, question number one, I want you to answer. Why do you call them a narcissist? What did you experience with them that made you call them a narcissist? And once you answer that question, and it's probably going to be multiple answers there. Once you look at your list of answers, I then want you to ask yourself, what is the definition of a friend? What do I want out of a friendship? What would a healthy friendship look like for yourself? That's question number 2. And then question number 3 is, if you compare the list of behaviors and experiences you've had with who you call a narcissist, right? So if you compare the answers from question number 1 and compare that to the answers from question number 2, does it match? Does the behaviors of this person that you call a narcissist, and why you call them a narcissist, does that fit your definition of what a healthy friendship looks like? Is that person safe to be your friend? And I'm sure once you do that, you're going to conclude that the answer is no. And I think people who ask this question are intelligent enough to know that the answer is already no. However, I think this question comes more from a space of you not wanting to accept that this person has to be completely out of your life. You're still trying to find a way to hold on to them, or they're trying to find a way to hold on to you and you're afraid to disappoint them and to set a firm, hard no boundary. So that is something that I encourage you to do. Answer those 3 questions. Um, and also work on finding peace with some people are just not good to be in your life. There's no halfway in, halfway out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. There's no in between. It's like pregnancy. Either you're pregnant or you're not. You can't be a little bit pregnant. That is the same thing with these people. If you consider the person to be narcissistic, this person is not safe for you. That is the bottom line. And let me say this, because I think this also causes people to keep people in their life. Excuse me, I'm going to sip some water. And make people confused. Well, I don't really know if they're narcissists. Maybe they're not because they don't do this. And I heard this about narcissists and they don't do that. So maybe they're not narcissists. Pause. We're not here to diagnose anyone. Really, what we're here to do, if you're here with me right now, we are here to decide, is this person healthy for me or not? Whether you consider them narcissistic or not is irrelevant, because as I said before, we're not really here to diagnose anyone anyway. And most people with narcissistic personality disorder don't even get diagnosed, right? They don't go to get help and support from a mental health professional to get diagnosed. So it's not your responsibility to decide whether they're narcissistic or not. What your responsibility is for you, for doing what's best for you, for living the way God wants you to live, which is loving you, loving other people, yes, but also loving you. Okay? Living your best life, living in your purpose, not where you're distracted with nonsense. And nonsense are people who are pulling you away from your purpose, pulling you away from doing the things that you're sent here to do. And I forgot where I was going with this. But yes, this is where I was going. We have to focus on what is healthy for me. Okay. So, and I know for sure, because this has worked for me and it has worked for other women that I have worked with. If you can be honest with yourself about that, you will prevent yourself from falling into any other toxic or narcissistic relationships. It would also make it easier, not easy completely, because we're human, but easier to detach yourself from relationships that are not healthy for you, because you have a bottom line. The bottom line is you have to be healthy for me. If you're not, I have to distance myself. If you follow that rule of thumb, you will be fine. Does it mean you won't have sadness? Does it mean you won't feel disappointment? Of course, we're human. But one of the ways that we can go through and grow through that disappointment is honoring ourselves and saying, I am supposed to only do things that are healthy for me. And that also includes people having access to you and relationships with others. I hope this Q&A was helpful for you. If you are catching the replay, like I said, go ahead and drop any questions or comments below if you have any for me. I will probably be doing more of these because, I'm able to answer more at once. Catch me in the morning. I'm on here Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are currently in a toxic and narcissistic relationship and you want to break away, or you have broken away, but you're still struggling with the impact of what you went through and you feel stuck, you feel like I still need help moving on, you can check out any of my links in the description box below. And for those of you who are here, you can go to any of my other videos or my page and check out any of my links. Right now, I have a program called the Relationship Detox that has a bonus. It won't be a permanent bonus, but currently it has a bonus where not only do you get access to my course, where I teach everything you need to know on how to heal and how to rebuild yourself after the impact of a toxic and narcissistic relationship, but it also gives you a free month access into my group coaching community called Thrive. So if you want to take advantage of that, this is a good time to do so. So you can go to the relationshipdetox.co to find out more information about that. Again, that's called the relationshipdetox.co. Or like I said, you can click on any of my links in any of my descriptions um, in my current videos. All right. You all have a blessed night. Thanks for joining in, and I will see you in the morning.